You don't have to sit in a pew to feel the weight of this book. The Bible has outsold, outlasted, and out-argued every other text in human history, and it keeps doing something no other ancient document manages. It keeps getting backed up. Not by preachers, by archaeologists, physicists, and researchers who had no theological stake in the outcome. Stone by stone, tablet by tablet, the ground itself keeps agreeing with the page. Today, we're walking through 10 moments where science and scripture didn't collide. They confirmed each other. Some of these will genuinely surprise you. Start with the Ark. In 2014, 4 physics students at the University of Leicester decided to stop debating Noah's Ark and start calculating it. They pulled the dimensions straight from Genesis, converted the ancient cubit into modern measurements, and arrived at a vessel roughly 476 feet long, 79 feet wide, and 46 feet high. Essentially, the footprint of a modern cargo ship. Then came the harder question. Could something that size actually float, loaded with a pair of every land animal on Earth? Using the density of cypress as a stand-in for the biblical gopher wood, they calculated the empty ark would weigh around 2.6 million pounds. But Archimedes' principle, the same physics that keeps any ship afloat, showed the hull could support up to 112 million pounds before sinking. The math didn't prove Noah existed. It proved the physics wasn't the problem. A vessel like that, built the way Scripture describes, could have carried exactly what the story claims. Move to Jerusalem, to the Gospel of John and the healing of a man born blind. Jesus makes mud from his own saliva, presses it to the man's eyes, and sends him to wash in the pool of Siloam. For generations, scholars treated that pool as symbolic, a nice theological flourish, not a real place. Then in 2005, city workers laying sewage pipes in Jerusalem's Old City hit ancient stone steps. Archaeologists moved in and uncovered a Second Temple-era reservoir, sitting exactly where John said it would be, at the southern edge of the ancient city, connected by the same path John describes running up toward the temple. The hydraulic engineering matched the period precisely. A detail treated as one poetic language for 2,000 years turned out to be a GPS coordinate. Then there's Solomon's Wall. First Kings describes a fortification Solomon built around Jerusalem, and for decades skeptical archaeologists dismissed it as later embellishment, a myth built to inflate his legacy. In 2010, Hebrew University archaeologist Eilat Mazar excavated the Ophel, the zone between the city of David and the southern Temple Mount, and found a massive fortified structure dating to the 10th century BCE, Solomon's exact era. The wall stretches roughly 230 feet and stands 20 feet high, complete with a guardhouse and tower remains, evidence of a real planned defensive system. It didn't just confirm the text, it undercut the theory that 10th century Jerusalem was some minor backwater. The city had infrastructure, the Bible had it right. Genesis 11 gives us the Tower of Babel, humanity, in its arrogance, building a tower to reach heaven, God confusing their language and scattering them across the earth. For centuries, this read as pure allegory, an origin myth for why languages differ. But a stone tablet unearthed in ancient Babylon, modern-day Iraq, has forced a second look. It's carved with cuneiform and an image of a stepped tower beside a spear-carrying figure in a conical hat. Professor Andrew George of the University of London identified the structure as a ziggurat, a stepped Mesopotamian temple, and the figure as Nebuchadnezzar II, famous for restoring Babylon's ziggurats. The tablet even documents the construction process. It doesn't prove the biblical account line for line, but it strongly suggests the story was rooted in a real structure, later reshaped by Hebrew writers into a lesson about human limitation before God. Pontius Pilate himself was, for a long time, a name critics used as a case study, a possibly fictional governor invented to give the crucifixion story a Roman face. That argument collapsed in 1961 when archaeologist Antonio Frova's team excavating the ruins of Caesarea Maritima on Israel's coast, uncovered a limestone slab bearing his name in Latin. The inscription, now displayed at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, records Pilate dedicating a temple to Emperor Tiberius, whose reign ran from 14 to 37 AD, the exact window in which Jesus was crucified. It's one of the rare moments where a New Testament figure steps out of Scripture and into a solid physical artifact, verified outside the Bible entirely. Then there's the city of David and the spring beside it, the site where, according to 1 Samuel and 1 Kings, Solomon was anointed king. After more than 20 years of excavation, the Israel Antiquities Authority uncovered fortified structures over 3,800 years old, built around the Gihon Spring, the city's essential water source. Tunnels and defensive systems protected it, revealing serious military engineering for the era. This is reportedly the largest Canaanite fortress ever found, and the largest known defensive structure that predates Herod the Great. It's the same spring where, by the biblical account, the priest Zadok anointed Solomon at David's command. A story that once read as symbolic ceremony now sits on a very real, very fortified piece of ground. The parting of the Red Sea is the one people expect to stay purely miraculous, with no natural mechanism attached. But atmospheric scientist Carl Drews ran computational models using real topographical data from the Nile Delta, focusing on the ancient Lake of Tanis. He found that sustained winds around 59 miles per hour, blowing for several hours, could produce what's called a wind set-down, a temporary but genuine land bridge as water gets pushed back. It's a documented phenomenon, and the BBC once drew a comparison to the 1994 tsunami near Moro Island in the Philippines, where witnesses watched the sea pull back entirely before the wave hit, exposing the lakebed in a way eerily close to the biblical description. None of this strips away the miracle. If anything, it suggests God didn't need to suspend nature to part that sea. He used it. Jericho gives us one of the oldest and most dramatic confirmations. Joshua chapter 6 describes Israel marching silently around the city for 7 days, then shouting and blowing trumpets on the 7th. And the walls simply came down. 20th century excavations by Ernst Sellen, Karl Watzinger, and later Kathleen Kenyon uncovered one of the oldest fortified cities on record, dating back roughly to 8000 BC, with clear layers showing a sudden violent collapse. Kenyon herself was skeptical of any biblical connection, but the evidence kept pointing that way. In the 1990s, archaeologist Bryant Wood re-examined the site and dated the destruction to around 1400 BC, the exact period of Joshua's campaign. The walls had fallen outward. Jars of grain were found still full, meaning the city fell fast, not after a long siege, a detail that lines up precisely with a conquest during harvest season, with no time for looting. The Babylonian exile is one of the best documented events in the ancient world, and it didn't need archaeology to be believed until the details needed confirming. Tablets recovered from Nippur, Babylon, and record Jewish exiles living under Babylonian rule, many carrying Hebrew names that match scripture. The most striking is the Jehoiakim tablet, discovered in 1899, which records royal rations given to the exiled king of Judah and his family. A direct match to 2 Kings chapter 25, which describes Jehoiakim receiving special treatment from Babylon's king after years in captivity. These aren't vague cultural echoes. They're administrative paperwork, thousands of years old, confirming names, provisions, and political detail exactly as Scripture recorded them. And then the cross itself. Most people know the outline. Pilate offers the crowd a choice between Jesus and the rebel Barabbas, and the crowd chooses Barabbas, sending Jesus to die in his place. What often gets missed is a detail rooted in how Roman crucifixion actually worked. Condemned men carried only the crossbeam to the execution site. The vertical post already stood, waiting in the ground. Historically, that means the cross Jesus carried the beam, for may well have been prepared for Barabbas. His name, fittingly, means son of the Father. The guilty son goes free. The innocent son takes his place. It's not just poetic, it's a structure of substitution built into the mechanics of a Roman execution, and it's the same offer Scripture says still stands for anyone willing to take up their own cross and follow. 10 stories, 10 separate discoveries, a physics calculation, a buried pool, a fortified wall, a stone tablet, an inscribed slab, a fortress by a spring, a wind model, a burned city, a ration tablet, and the mechanics of a Roman execution. None of them were found by people trying to prove the Bible true. They were found by people doing their jobs, digging, measuring, translating, and the ground kept agreeing with the text anyway. That's the pattern worth sitting with. The Bible was never just a book of belief. It's a book that keeps getting confirmed by the very science that was supposed to leave it behind. If this one moved something in you, stay close, because there's more where this came from, and every discovery seems to open the door to another.